Turn your microphone off anymore.
Thank you very much.
G2 versus virtuspro. Now, when you look at the names, you probably think, okay, whatever. When you look at the players that are involved, suddenly it becomes a very, very interesting... Don't turn the microphone off, I swear to God. I thought you were going for my button. It's a really exciting one because of the players that are involved in a way. A lot of these guys go way, way back. Obviously, Empire being the old team they used to play under, but seeing them all kind of stack up together here and come up against G2, a name that old Empire would clash with for years, it felt like, constantly at each other's throats. It's just good to see these players all back in the server and coming head-to-head. G2 banning away the Flores first and foremost, quite popular on this map to deal with shields, to deal with banshees, you name it. Mainly stacked up around the map's table inside of Aviator when defending the Aviator game site. And DKB, the attacking ban, to be taken away by virtuspro Tim.
Yeah, I don't think Flores. I was going to say Flores is sort of underrated. I don't think he's underrated. I think everyone knows how good Flores is. I don't know if maybe underused is a consideration.
I think these days he's a pocket pick in a way
exactly.
for a specific situation.
For the volume, for the sheer volume of work that he can do. I'm surprised that we don't see him a little bit more sometimes. So, Dokkaebi comes along as a ban, as Zami will join, and then a very rapid pick for that final one. We'll see who the defender's going to be. It will be Solis. We've spoken at length about Solis as our not newest anymore operator. Brava, of course, taking that position now. But Solis, very new but very, very popular. Able to spot out those gadgets. Basically like a defensive IQ. Has a little scanner, can see any electronic devices. Be that an exothermic charge on a wall, be that a drone coming through. So much work that can be done from that operator, just spotting out, feeding information, even feeding locations. Somebody goes on to check the drones, check the cams, bang, you've just spotted them. It's so crucial. So I'm not surprised to see Solis going, especially on such a big map as well, because big map, you want your drones. You want your drones, you don't want a Solis.
Doki did make the mistake of making it quite well known how much he loves playing Azami as well, so it being banned away by virtuspro does feel like a target ban in towards him here in this first half. But here we go then, G2 defending the first site is Aviator and Games down towards the south side of that top floor. If you haven't watched too much Siege before, it does tend to be the primary site for most teams, meaning that's where they'll often start their defensive half and then look to rotate through Trophy and Statuary down to Dining and Kitchen. But it does feel over the last few months like we've seen a little bit of a change there, Tim, and we saw it yesterday between the two teams that played on this map. One of them in their second site did go towards Dining as the second go-to. Now, they didn't win it. No one actually really won as a defender on that site across the entire map. So it tells you why it's often seen as the tertiary, though teams are experimenting with it being the secondary site over Trophy and Statuary, that I am very sure we will see in either the second or third round coming on through. As for the attackers, virtuspro, they're going for the long way round on this one, Tim. They want to clear up towards Master Bedroom, work their way across the top floor, and then look for a site hit, hopefully all in one piece.
Yeah, it's a much more popular attack recently. Get yourself into Master Bedroom. Then maybe, pull the trigger! There you go. Benja's going to pick up that opener onto Joystick and then finds a second onto Dan. Absolutely beautiful opener from a Benja that was actually a little bit quiet yesterday, but comes out and absolutely smashes the start of this. But then virtuspro, they've got answers. There's a couple of kills coming in. Shepard and Pasha finding those, and it brings us to a 3 versus 2. G2 still have the advantage, and a big advantage really with Benja underneath. Doesn't have the nitro anymore, but the question is, which staircase is he going to appear from? 5 drones though. They should have those staircases locked down, in fairness. I would expect there to be flank drones in place, at least for Astro and Red Stairs.
I do want to touch on that first kill out of Benja, the C4. I commented on it yesterday. Oh. I mean, why rush? You can't rush perfection. And G2 are certainly in no rush to close things out there. Benja especially, a 3k in the round. But again, coming back to his first kill, at SI, he had 30 explosive kills. He was very good with nades, very good with C4s. Second place to him was Foxay with just 15. That's how far clear Benja was with these explosive kills. And he started one off in this series. Colour me.
From Benja, but I'm gonna be the voice of caution on that one. We have seen it once or twice before where players will sit and watch somebody on a drone, and as they come out of it, that animation is a bit quicker or a little bit unexpected, and they miss the shots and end up losing.
This shot.
We've seen it before, but Beautiful, that. Absolutely beautiful. But no, Benja was absolutely fine. Yeah, you just see this sometimes. They sort of come out of the animation and it's just a little bit unexpected. And we have seen it, unfortunately, not pan out once.
You know the reason why you do that is, when they watch the kill cam, they're just like, oh man.
The thing is, it wastes a few more seconds. But we've also seen people shot from behind at that point as well. They've been sat waiting to take somebody on a drone, don't notice the person coming down the corridor behind them, and all of a sudden end up leaving with nothing. But it worked out in the end. All's well that ends well. G2, they are going to pick up the first round 1-0. They are on Villa. Villa, historically, we've always said defenders on Villa. We have seen that change a little bit as Villa's got older.
It's an interesting observation overall that actually I think SI was one of our closest in terms of attack and defender win rates across all maps in the pool.
I think there's other things that have happened within the game that have brought attackers closer to the mark, and then Villa is an older map. As the maps get older, they get figured out more, basically. You attack onto a site 10 times, you're not going to be as good as when you've attacked onto it 100 times. So ultimately, we do see improvement. Pasha, he's going to improve this round for virtuspro, managing to pick up the opener this time, and that's going to be Doki taken down.
Should we play a little bit of quiz time just while this round's playing out?
Why not? Let's.
What do you? Villa was the least played map at SI with 10 plays, but what was its defender win rate?
Defender win rate for Villa at SI,
what do you think?
I think was probably actually about 46%.
Oh, really? No, you are wrong. It is 53%.
Oh, okay.
What do you think was
I knew it was close. I thought it maybe
the only map below 50%, you can guess which one it is in the pool. I think you've put a pretty fair guess based on how these maps play out.
Border?
Correct. Yeah. 49%. Which one do you think was the most defender-sided?
The most defender-sided map. I would expect maybe something like maybe a clubhouse. Skyscraper.
Joint second place, though, 59% was Oregon and Theme Park, so some nice surprises.
Theme Park surprises me there. Theme Park sprang to mind, and then I thought, no, the
Club is close. Club is 56%,
yeah,
so you are close.
I knew Club would be a good defender.
The sheer fact we have a 12% point difference between lowest and highest win rate is really impressive balance for the maps at the minute in the pool. I remember back in the day of Coastline being like 37% or something stupid, so it is nice to see the change.
It is, and... not going to be
round anyway.
Alamo's not going to need any.
Time over.
Alamo's not going to need any change from that nitro, does he? Spends every penny of it and takes Pasha down. That's going to level things out 4 versus 4. 50 seconds left to go. G2 actually holding on pretty well here. They've wasted quite a lot of time. VP not really established inside of the building yet. Alamo's still underneath. He's backed up by Benja on the Warden. Benja with a nitro in hand. Alamo with all the intel that he will need to find a vertical kill. Benja, he's going to just go to the weapon for the time being, though. He doesn't need the explosives, and that swings the man count back in G2's favour. 4 versus 3 in the final 30 seconds.
Yeah, they've still got the C4 on side from Benja too, with the pulse available. So if virtuspro sticks to this top floor like they have kind of done historically as a team, and I think back to them, this is a great chance to get some freebies just as they try and march their way forwards. Bearing in mind, again, we are on Living and Library, the side that I didn't expect us to see. 2 quick kills come through, Dan and Joystick getting 1 apiece, but Alamar puts him in the dirt. There's 1 left standing with just 5 seconds to go. One thing does not change about these Russian teams, Tim, and that is their, what shall I say, capability with the clock.
No, it's historically often been the way to win. Even back to the Empire success, get them down to that final 10, final 5 seconds. And they will still continue trying to tick their boxes, trying to move through those checklists, and it can cause them a bit of an issue, which we've seen there. So G2 take the second round. They're going to get themselves on to 2-0, and it's a good start for them on the defence, especially picking up Living Room Library. They might actually fancy themselves, Des, for a full sweep here. We might see all 4. They're going to take Trophy Statuary for the time being, and rather than rotating back to Aviator Games, it wouldn't drastically surprise me to see them pick up Dining and Kitchen as well.
No, the fact they went off to Living and Library when I said we'd see Dining and Kitchen, we'd see Trophy Statuary, was like, oh, okay, I appreciate the switcheroo, and you saw the similar stuff to what we saw back in round 1. virtuspro trying to sweep their way through the entirety of the top floor. G2 happy to just nip and bite at their ankles a little bit as they step through, catch the odd one out with the C4, and when they tried to get a little bit cute and get inside a bike shed to push straight in towards Living and Library, it was an easy shutdown for G2 as well. So far, looking largely unpressured on the side of G2. It doesn't feel like they're too bothered by what virtuspro are up to, so I want to see a little bit more heat, a little bit more spice coming out of this virtuspro side, because so far it has been extremely predictable from start through to here.
Yeah, I like a bit of spice, Des. You know, I do, yeah.
What's your curry of choice?
If we're talking curries, I love a madras. Yeah.
Balti's about as far as I go.
I love a madras. I quite often eat a masala, but
if
I'm fancying something with a little extra spice, then I'll go for a madras.
So where would you put Virtus Pro right now? Probably a korma?
Maximum. Yeah, they're not bringing too much heat into the server. There's going to be a little bit more work.
Bring around the roses.
This is just going backwards and forwards. Pasha, it is ultimately who just comes in and says enough of this. Joystick, come on, just let me get the kill. Going to take out Benja. Always picks up a Claymore kill onto Alamo, who's trying to get aggressive and go out of the windows.
No, he was inside, but he walked in front of the hole, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Very
it
good.
was the Claymore onto Astro Stairs.
Classic.
A ranked classic.
It is.
Picking up the kill onto Alamo.
That's me. If I've got Claymores in back pocket, there are guaranteed there is one down there every time.
There's a couple of other drone holes you can use if you... Not just here on Villa, Clubhouse is another popular one, just to the side of CCTV breach. Put it through there, anybody rotating through red will get picked up. So feel free, go away, use it in your ranked game, see if you get any joy.
There's another one here just inside a bathroom. Daring someone to step across. And here you can see the workers coming in through this master side. They really want to get this triple wall opened up, but G2 aren't giving them too much room for it at the moment. Still, again, locking them inside a master. We're down to a minute and 15 left. They've got the numbers advantage still, but they've got to make something happen. This looks a little bit more pacey. They're into him. They've spotted a gap, but they've just marched on forward. Always has cleaned up to Dan the third. And finally, Virtus Pro get on the board. And what I love there, Tim, is again, they saw an opportunity and they said, right, every single player in the site right now, and they get the round cleanly.
I was just about to say, literally as that happened, I was a little bit concerned. G2 actually did it in the prior round. I commented on Alamo and Benja downstairs on the Pulse and Warden playing together, and it's something that G2 were trying to do again there. They had Blur downstairs, they had a heavy downstairs presence, they're trying to play with a lot of verticality, and Virtus Pro recognised that, and as you say quite rightly, we're like, right, we're not messing about, 3, 2, 1, in we go, and then all they've got to do is watch staircases. There's a lot less work for them to do. Obviously you've got to think about your nitros, you've got to think about those angles they might have opened up. But if they recognise, G2 recognise that the push into sight is on, they're limited in what they can do. They've got to get back up those stairs. They've got to have an impact laterally onto that site. And so Virtus Pro can then just watch. Bap, bap, bap. No problem. Pick them up as they come back. Just like that.
You know what I love is that after this play day, already we're 40% of the way through the group stage.
As I said yesterday, every game carries so much weight. It's 25% of your available points. G2 now are going to have already played by the end of this game for 50% of their potential points.
Crazy,
when you're trying to get into the top 3 of the group, where that's the big focus here. Obviously, we've got a new format with Blast, and I'm absolutely loving it. But it's obviously everybody's getting familiar with it. If you sat at home wondering, right, where are these teams really aiming for? Top 3 in the groups out of 5 teams.
Minimum
is really that's the sweet spot. That's the minimum, as you say, that you're aiming for. The bottom 2 going down into the open qualifiers, so it becomes a bit of a roll of the dice then for getting into the major. But certainly not a guarantee for the top 3 either. There's a couple more steps that they need to go through to secure their position. But at least you're giving yourself that fighting chance then.
Absolutely. If you missed the games yesterday, they're worth watching back because there was some real screamers.
There was a couple of surprises. There was some great performances, some not so great performances.
69. Yeah. No,
sorry, Des?
Sorry, what?
I don't know.
A really awkward cough. It just happens sometimes.
On we go.
Yeah, much better. Cool. Onwards we march. Pasha has been snaking his way up through the basement and has now finally got himself onto the ground level, the same as some other members of... No. Not like... I want to know how. I imagine there was maybe the default cam call. Surely it was gone, but I need to watch that back. I need to find out how Benja knew, because Pasha is going to be howling to the moon if that's gone against him blindly.
Alamo's going to pick up a headshot onto Shepherd, but we've got a lot of back and forth. It's been a little bit of a theme over the last couple of rounds that this man count is never too far apart. Difficult to separate the two as we find ourselves 3 versus 3 always. He's going to recover that diffuser and give Virtus Pro a potential opportunity and option to be able to get into sight, but there's still kills they're going to have to find. Joystick, he's got a drone at his feet at the minute, and it brings an interesting point into play of how far ahead do you allow that drone to go. I'll discuss it after the gunfighters. seen its end. Benja's just going to hold them back for the time being. They know roughly that he's somewhere in living room and library, but they don't want to overcommit to this. And as Joystick moves in, I don't think he's considering the little closet that's in the back there.
They think he's gone. I mean, Dan's still searching for him, but has absolutely no idea.
That's a problem.
And Benja can hear these going around behind him. The problem is now, because Benja's trapped away inside of mud, there's only one player holding around on site, and that is Alamau, as 3 players potentially start to bear down on him. So Benja has to be the backstab king here. He's got to go big for his team. Otherwise, we're staring down the barrel of a 2-2 scoreline.
Time for Benja to move back!
No!
I think they just found out that Benja's still downstairs. He picks a kill upon 2 always, but he's going to have to move back up red stairs. And virtuspro are going to be aware of that, but with 25 seconds left to go, their opportunity to hold that down is going to be limited. We see Alamau forced back into Vault. There's an opportunity. Joystick gets in here. He can start putting this diffuser down. And Dan, he's just holding Alamau in place. Alamau struggling to get out, but no, that's an important fight to win. Benja comes up the red stairs, picks up the kill onto Joystick, and G2 really had to scrap for that round, but they got it done, got it over the line.
It's one of those where when the hunt for Benja begins at about 1 minute 30 seconds left on the clock, it's telling you the concerning point for virtuspro in that round already. I clocked it in the first 2. Everything was on the same plane. It was all on the top floor, whilst G2 was sat downstairs, C4s in hand. Like these are free kills to find every single day. We haven't seen too much adaptation to change over and go, right, Benja is a problem. He's getting free C4 kills every round. We need to slow him down. Even then, when they've sent a drone after him and Iana after him as well, he just hides himself away in a corner, isn't droned out. Villa is a pretty big map, I'll allow them that. But they're doing it over halfway through the round, and then you're leaving yourself down to the wire when it comes to the execute. You saw the outcome there. Iana had to sit and hold down F for that plant to go down. A 1v2 basically being forced against virtuspro, and G2 do close things out. It looks a little bit ropey at points, but I'm sure they had full confidence going into those final 30 seconds. 3-1 then it is to G2. Let's see how things shape up on yet another site, Tim, this time up towards dining and kitchen.
Here we go then, G2. I think they're going to be feeling pretty comfortable at the minute. Apart from that one round where they sort of got caught out, I don't think it was necessarily, virtuspro did beat them to win the round, but they basically saw an opportunity and went and rushed in and put G2 in a bad spot, or G2 had already put themselves potentially in a little bit of a bad spot. But, overall, I feel like G2 are definitely in command here. They're definitely in the driving seat, and I can see a world where, if they just play this sort of sensibly, they pick up 2 rounds and they go 5-1 on the half.
See, I'm looking at this now and seeing the setup that we just saw coming in around Pantry, where there's a bandit battery that's been deployed onto the Pantry wall. We spoke about this a lot yesterday in the Villa game that we saw take place. It was a big focus for one team, the other cared less. It does help you slice and divide the site apart. And knowing that you've been walking into C4s constantly, I don't overly blame Pasha here for picking up the IQ and looking to do a little bit of work with that. No doubt it's mainly picked out more for the Valkyrie and the Black Eyes that will be scattered around the building, insisting G2 in getting more C4 kills with 3 of them sat in back pocket. But it does also help you keep an eye out for those fishermen from below, Benja especially, who normally is looking for it. This round no C4 though. That responsibility comes down to Virtue, Alamau and Blur.
1 minute into the round, Pasha's still searching out those electronics, just trying to see if he can find anybody up on the top floor. Not coming across anybody yet, but he's not going to push too far before he does, I don't think. We've got Doki over around the Astro stairs. He's sort of lurking in a position where I think he's sort of ready to get himself up onto the top floor, but virtuspro, they're not too confident here. They know that there's 1 or 2 that they need to play into. There's the mirror of Blur as well up there, and there's certainly no rush from them, but that's good. Dan manages to pick up Doki on the Oryx. That's going to see him go. Blur has to drop back all the way into basement, and this is actually turned into, in the last 10 seconds since I started, concern over their sort of speed, has been fantastic for virtuspro. Well played.
It's such a great read as well. One player in piano watching down Red Hall, but they also stuck a second player on the Astro Repel. There was no safe way back downstairs for G2 where they wouldn't be spotted by a member of virtuspro, and Dan has made use of that range on the Ash, got himself 2 kills, should now find himself down, almost finished off as well. Blur's the one in a bit of a hot spot though, because he's got 1 player pushing him towards Red and Art, looking here to get Dan back on his feet, and has another player on the window outside and behind the painting. So, under pressure for sure, Dan should be good to get back on his feet.
Player's just going to hold his angle from basement. Drone will go right in his face, so they're going to know exactly where he is, but it's a freebie for Benja. Once again, information just proving to be a key missing element for Virtus.pro. They don't know where Benja is, and he's able to move around, get a big double, level things out. 30 seconds left to go. Virtue finds Shepard, and all of a sudden, Virtus.pro are now on the back foot. Always is trying to push in directly towards site, but he's not going to get the visual that he needs on his man, but second time lucky, he manages to find him. 2 versus 2.
Here we go, trying to step forward with that DMR as well. A couple of shots. I mean, one onto Blur, one onto Benja should be enough. A smoke coming through in towards Pantry side as they step forward and try and look for the plant to go down, but they haven't got it on side. Benja makes it a triple. There's one left standing. He is the king of Art Studio. You cannot remove him. The round is done, and G2 move up to 4-on-1. A really disappointing round, and to go from a 5v3 and see it crumble like that, Virtus.pro will be kicking themselves.
Frustrated on time, once again, time.
Just goes to show a lack of flank drones, a lack of real composure. They couldn't convert the round from there.
That's the big point, is information. I picked up on it in the round, you've picked up on it there. Twice now, Benja has struck without them being aware that he's there. You know, we saw always on the Thatcher at the bottom of red stairs just run out in front of him, no idea that Benja's there. We saw it here. Look, the IQ's just run around the corner. Pasha, absolutely no idea that Benja is on that door. And that's the real problem for Virtus.pro at the minute. They're just not getting a good enough grasp, not specifically on Benja, but particularly where those roamers, where those lurkers are going to be coming from. And it's causing them a big problem. It's costing them rounds.
It is, and it's cost them 4 so far, Tim. Not entirely. Admittedly, G2 have won some of those rounds out quite convincingly of their own accord. But this is Virtus.pro's last chance. No 0-4 G2 to start the day today, as we saw yesterday against BDS, only for them to go on and win 7 of the next 8 rounds. It was a bruising performance from G2 against BDS, and here they've carried on that same streak. Brava on side, as we saw a couple of times, oddly enough, on this map, Tim. Wasn't really all that effectual. We saw an ADS being hacked out, but that was really about all we saw, to be honest. Here, though,
more effectual. I spoke about Banshees yesterday. As we've said, as we've explained, that doesn't just stop the Banshee working, it flips it on its head. So now if the defenders go through that Banshee's radius of effectiveness, it will activate, it will slow them down, it will give the audio cues, they'll have to shoot it out. And so that could be really critical. It's also the fact that in the defenders' minds, if they don't know that gadget has been flipped, they're thinking, nobody can push that door. Nobody can push that door because I'll know if they do. I'll hear the sound, they'll get slowed by the Banshee, and that's no longer the case. They're going to walk in for free, potentially.
The then question that comes from, I mean, one of the things I've just clocked, by the way, underneath Brava's number of clutch drones remaining, that number 2, I believe is how many hack gadgets there are, because it was at 3, but then we saw the Banshee at the bottom of red stairs shot out, which then brought it down to 2, so that would make sense if that's the way that things are indeed squaring up. But it's all good. I was going to say it's all good getting the hack in, but what can you then do to punish the other side with that advantage or the hole that you've created by hacking those drones out, or the Banshees in this case? But here the answer is nothing really, but it's more about catching Doki, as he was a little bit overextended, not having the best game today at 0-6.
It's been a slow one for him, struggling to get involved. We've got Benja just thinking about the potential of that Nitro there. Actually locked inside a site at the minute. We've seen him do most of his damage out on the roam so far, out away from that site. But right now, Virtus.pro, 1 minute 10 left to go, still drawn in top floor, still not in control of that area of the map. I feel like, you know, that's going to be a big improvement for them, is if they can get themselves in the map and claim land quickly. It's just not something they've been able to do so far.
Still looking to see what they can do here in towards the last 60 seconds or so. They have got the numbers advantage, but we've seen them, you know, give away a 5 versus 3, let alone a 5 versus 4, which is how this round's shaping up. You got Blur and Alamau off-site, well, not off-site, sorry, on-site, sorry. I keep forgetting they were playing inside a living and library, just fishing that information back and forth through the team, staring at the verticals, making use of that cardiac sensor as VP now start to gather around. But the big question I have to ask, Tim, is when are we going to see these flanks come out from the members of G2 that aren't playing on-site?
Just see Pasha there trying to deploy one of the Brava drones in through the wall. Can't get the throw though. The gap was not quite big enough. He's instead going to breach the wall and look to push in, but with 15 seconds left to go, this is going to come down to a bloodbath. Pasha is able to start getting that diffuser. Nitro from Benja just in time though, does get killed, but manages to stop the plant. 8 seconds left to go. Dan's going to have to stick this. It's up to Virtue. He's not likely to be able to affect on the planter, and that is a big problem. 1v4 becomes 1v3.
And they got the vertical.
Just continuing to try and and push through, as you say. They're going to use those angles above him to make his life an absolute misery now. Virtus.pro have got themselves away. They've managed to set up the post plan, and you would expect them to win from this position.
The thing is, on the vertical, they can't see the diffuser, so he can disable it as long as he's mindful of what's going on above. But it's the two players that are on the ground floor that's going to be the issue. He's looking for a cheeky C4, nothing to be found there. And there are two players hanging not all that far away. In fact, here, he might find one, looks away at just the wrong moment, but doesn't get shot. Finally does. Shepherd upstairs on the vertical closes things out. A 4-2 half, Tim. All things are equal and as expected. Well, not equal, but it's as expected on this map.
I think virtuspro have been a little bit lucky there, if I'm honest. Coming away from that half 2-4, I think G2 have certainly felt like the better team, but obviously, you know, that just gives a new angle to saying that virtuspro have, you know, maybe had to fight in some tougher rounds, and so the performance in that respect has been reasonable as well. But no, a better half for G2 overall. I'm really fascinated by this next round, round 7. It's going to be a key one, because if G2 are able to just walk in here with a successful attack onto the primary side of AVG, then virtuspro are backs to the wall and in serious trouble. However, if virtuspro can lock this down, all of a sudden there's one round difference and they are back in the fight.
That's the thing, right? We saw it yesterday with a couple of teams that it felt like really should have dominated the very start of things, only for it to be cruelly caught up to, and in some cases flipped on its head entirely. Aviator gains where this team will start as I clock back in the first half. Back in round 1, it's where teams often start their defensive halves here on Villa. And VP will copy their counterparts on G2 with exactly the same style of setup. We have got that Valkyrie on side once again with those black eye cameras, those pesky cameras scattered around the halls of Villa. And on the attacking side, we've got Alamau bringing along the Ying Tim, that go-to execute-based operator.
I do love playing the Valkyrie. I don't get very much opportunity anymore. Obviously, the ban rate in rank particularly is pretty high, but it is an operator that I enjoy. Your gun can be a little bit difficult at times, as we know with the
It's
MPX.
a laser beam, but it's got low damage.
Yeah, that's it. You got to really hit a good number of shots onto somebody. But yeah, overall, very enjoyable operator to play. But we head into a point where G2 are now trying to get themselves inside of the map. The droning sort of continues. Benja is on there just trying to gather a little bit of sort of final information. Blur's having a little bit of a look, but G2, they're in position now, and it's time to get themselves moving. First job, clear joystick out of Master. But have they spotted Dan downstairs? Do they have a plan to deal with him?
The plan for Dan, Tim. That's what they're looking for. Joystick being forced away. I don't think the triple wall got opened up, or did it? I think in the end it did. No one got caught. Yes, it did in the end. They're very good. So they had one that got caught out by a mine magnet, not quite getting the drone in place, but for now have managed to march their way onwards. Virtue applying just enough pressure to make him step away. One Stelm was still in back pocket, and Dan has now kind of taken his old position, has stepped back up here onto top floor inside a trophy, working his way down towards red corridor, I imagine, and back towards site. The two players of G2, both Benja and Doki, both with grenades in hand, looking to work their way here up the stairs. Up they march, and Pasha very sensibly darts away, looking to dodge away from those Jin Candelas, but a well-placed nade over the top, not quite going to catch his man. Just had no cook to it, Tim. It was raw.
It does manage to get the shield out, though, and that might give them an opportunity to get themselves up the main stairs in the next 30 seconds or so. Dan hasn't been dealt with over on the Master side yet, though. Certainly one to watch later in the round. Could have a big impact as the push continues onto main stairs. Pasha with an important kill, shutting down Doki, and that is going to keep them in control of that key area, and that is big from Pasha.
G2 have had two swings at the bat there as well to try and make this work with both Doki and Benja. That smoke just doing wonderful work to force them back, but also a little bit of friendly flashing as well. Benja was completely white screen, couldn't push forward along with Doki. It feels like we're going to see virtuspro hold on here unless Alamau can contribute to a real break forward. Up goes the smoke, runs up and finds a man completely blind. But what else can he find? Because G2 only have 35 seconds to work with.
Great use of the smokes, it's fair to say, from Shepherd as well. We know how much experience he's got within this game, and he's really showing it there. You know, burnt out, critical moments every time they tried to push, you know, not throwing them out just sort of whenever fancied. He was waiting for those moments, and he's just judged that fantastically, leaving us now 3 versus 4, 15 seconds. RG2 going to suffer the same problems. I don't think they've dealt with Dan. I said about a minute ago that they hadn't picked him up and he could have a big impact, and there is the impact. They're going to have to try and throw this diffuser down on the ground, but it's going to be too little too late, as it's now a 1v3 Blur with no option but to try and fight. and that's going to see the round go to virtuspro, and that brings us to a 3-4 on the scoreboard. Almost feeling like it's out of nowhere.
It's a really good defense of the main stairs. I know we touched on it throughout the round, but you mentioned it, the use of Shepard's gas canisters, Pasha dancing in and out of the Yin Candelas as they came through. When he heard one coming out, straight up the top of the stairs, as far away as he could be from the Candelas ringing through. And G2 tried 2-3 times to force their way up main stairs, but one, found themselves a little bit short on each push, and two, running down onto a dwindling amount of utility to make use for that push. And you saw them pay the price for that. Really good defense from virtuspro. G2 probably need to commit a little bit harder towards one of these pushes if they really want to make them work.
Yeah, I think there's an element there of G2 maybe banging their head against the wall. They didn't manage to get themselves up main stairs, and there was no rotation really, no adaptation. We had Benja try to move up red stairs towards the end of the round, but he was going into an area that at that point hadn't been droned in probably 2 minutes. You know, Dan had been able to slip through the net and get himself into that position, so it was very easily dealt with for virtuspro. And I just feel like G2 maybe could have made a call at a point to say, you know what, main stairs isn't happening, we're not getting up there. Pasha and Shepard have got it on lock. Do we need a rotate? Do we need to switch off here? Do we need to adapt? It's not the end of the world for the first attempt. You know, they did have a couple of rounds to spare, but I wouldn't like to see them continue doing that going forward. You know, maybe a little bit more of adaptability just brought in would be good.
I thought for a second there they were thinking about another main stairs push, but it's more just a passing drone on the way through library. Benja, as I mentioned a couple of times, both at SI and here in this game, loves playing around Art Studio down towards the bottom of red, out towards library, you name it, that's his domain. So it only makes sense on the attacking side that he knows all the rad spots, all the places to hide away, and wants to make sure they can force these players away from that position. Here we go though once again from long range. Doki this time round taking up the mantle of playing the ace. 0 and 7. Want to see him activated and turned on, but with a little bit of assist from Virtue with the Thatcher on side, they have got the triple wall opened up, so can see inside of sight and slightly push these members back, but in comes the march. Doki finding one, instantly responded though by Shepard.
It's been good early progress from G2. You know, time was something that we picked up on last time around. They were a little bit late. They spent too long trying to get up main stairs. They've gone in there. They've got things done quickly. Look at this. We're only a minute 15 into the round. They've got themselves 3 kills. They've got triple wall open. They're starting to sort of walk into sight. Alamo manages to find his shots onto Shepard before the Capcan traps find him, but it's all up to Dan. 1 versus 1 now, effectively. He's got one down on the floor, but smart move from Blur. He's going to put the Claymore down, just cover his flank and give him an opportunity to get his man back on his feet, bringing it back to the full 2v1. I
like this from Dan as well, a hard rotate away, but does concede a lot of ground in this case, and this is a great, I was about to say, it was a great place to plant coming out from G2. They'll try and go for it, not that it's required, as Benja has got the cross. And G2 will win their first attacking round, Tim.
They're just in a position now of trying to keep their nose in front. You know, up and level the scoreline. They've got themselves an attack there, really important. You know, it just gets them moving again. virtuspro had a few rounds in a row, and you start feeling as G2, we've moved on to the attack. Is this going to be a tough second half for us? But that's going to give them a lot of confidence. It was an interesting one to see that Alamo was able to beat the explosives of the Capcan as well. Got in, he got his kill, he found Shepard, but you know, you can't beat those explosions for too long.
It's like the Claymore, small trigger time on them as well, so if you are quick, you can get away with those quick couple of shots, but your life is basically forfeit at that point as well. Still, G2 pull it over the finish line, up to 5 and 3 they go. virtuspro following a much more, air quotes, normal rotation of sites here as well. I've gone through the 2 top sites, now find themselves in the off site of dining and kitchen.
It's going to be top floor control that G2 are looking for. Pretty much the same as last time, so I sort of fancy G2 for this round because, as I commented, within the first 30 seconds, they had that triple wall open.
That's really weird, Tim, because yesterday I almost remember you saying that you fancied virtuspro. Weird.
No, I mean, I've just specifically said for this round, which I think you've missed theirs as well, but also said that I was excited by the prospect of virtuspro being back. Not that
high expectations. You thought they were going to win,
Our prediction for today was G2. Check the Twitter.
Turncoat.
It's all there.
Turncoat.
Yeah, I think G2, I fancy for this round if they can do the same as they did last time, which was open that triple wall very quickly, get themselves into master bedrooms, start getting that control. They did very, very well. It was 1 minute 15 into the round. They had kills, they had breaches, they had everything done, and they're doing the same again. And virtuspro didn't have an answer, Des, and they don't. Alamo manages to find Pasha as he comes out of the bathroom.
And here, not the place to catch someone, really, is it? You're not expecting that.
You're not usually, to be fair. I mean, I think he was just passing through Pasha. He'd come from master bedroom, but he got caught out on his rotor.
He's passing something through in the bathroom, Tim. Here we go. 5 versus 4 then for G2. Still looking in a pretty commanding spot. They did manage to get away just without the electric claw going off onto that pantry wall, which we mentioned a few times. Really good for giving the long angle opened up. But Doki has got a little bit impatient. He doesn't want to sit there anymore. He wants to get himself more involved. So has moved himself instead to try and push in through Laundry. And here he goes on his march forward up towards that doorway that I don't think VP are expecting, Tim.
No, I think you're absolutely right. There's going to be a lot of vertical pressure coming in as well. Shepard's going to be forced out of his position there, as we can see. Doki's trying to remain patient for as long as he can.
Doki, patient?
I know, he's going to take the barricade out, and that gives the game away, really. He's not going to be able to hold that long angle anymore, but there's still plenty of time left on the clock. But here goes Dan again. We saw this with the Valkyrie previously. Does Benja know he's going to just take a little bit of chip damage there, but that is important information because he now knows that Dan is upstairs and potentially on the flank, so Dan is likely going to have to drop back.
Oh, yellow ping as well, just giving all the info. Oh, always! What a shot at range as well to bring it back, but a plant was going down. Blur complete. Can they now hold these angles? Virtue off on the longer angle finds one, but they need to get a better angle in onto the diffuser itself, and Blur has got to be so careful of the art door. Oh my God, literally a shoulder stepping out. Shepard's going in for the diffuse as well. No one's nearby. He's got to swing fast. He comes off and finds his man. Virtue, the last one left standing, has the vertical, but cannot find his man. Looks like they'll get him on the reverse. It's 4 left alive for virtuspro, and the fuse coming through up to 5 and 4. We moved him.
So good from Shepard there, just using the audio cue of the that door's being pushed. He's got a shotgun in hand and he's going to win that angle 9 times out of 10. Does exactly that. Great play from virtuspro in that post plant. They keep themselves fighting here, and honestly, this is a much closer matchup than I think a lot would have expected.
Yeah, I think the attacks left a little bit to be desired from the side of virtuspro. The defenses, though, I've really enjoyed seeing. Just the way they played certain things out, the composure they've seen around main stairs, for example. This round just now, the way they played the post-plant situation as well was just beautiful. Always fantastic spot, using the slightly open up slither in the wall as well to find Benji with assistance of a yellow ping. They're looking good and composed, and this is often the way that you think you see teams work out, is they look strong on the defensive side. It is a little bit easy to coordinate, whereas the attacking side, there's a lot more moving parts that you have to kind of figure out as you go. So they're looking strong. Again, they've had this roster now for 2 to 3 months. They've had a bit of time to work with it. You will see them improve, no doubt, over the course of the stage as well, remembering this is really their first real official match since they've had this roster.
There's a real opportunity for virtuspro to level things up here. They're in Aviator games. They're in the primary site choice. They won this back in round 7 when they opened things up on the defence. They've gone straight back, and there is now an opportunity to level the scoreboard and force this to a minimum of 12 rounds. Always, he's ratting away down in the basement. We saw him have a great impact over the last couple of rounds. He's been doing good stuff on the T5 of the Legion, and he's going to continue on. 10 and 5 so far. He's leading the way along with Dan, and it's looking good for virtuspro to potentially take us all the way.
All the way, Tim.
We'll see if that happens.
I haven't heard the full line in the same voice I'm always expecting, but speaking about expecting, Alamo not expecting to get domed by Pasha so early into the round. Joystick taking a little bit of chip damage, but G2 have been pretty quick here in getting control of Study, and Doki just rounds himself out towards the rotation. Finds himself a man for free. Down goes 1 into a 4 versus 4.
They just need...
Oh, no.
I was just about to say they need Doki to get firing. If they, he could be a difference maker in this game.
They've got sights,
but Blur is going to go in. He's going to pick him up, so that's Doki back on his feet. As you say, there's an opportunity to put the diffuser down where virtuspro pushing back from. Always doesn't have an opportunity to stop this. There's a wall in his way, and there's cover in place. Doki's going to hit the deck, and what a great plant that is from G2 in a 3v3.
I commend them for this as well in the exact same way I'll commend virtuspro for their trophy statuary here. They spotted a gap. They've realised no one's around ground to defend, and they've made the call, and as a team have pushed their way in, making use of the shield as it wasn't destroyed away. That's one going down. Can they get the next as well? No, Virtue wins one, but he's got to stop the man, and he can't. Literally a slither of a second, and he saw the round slip away. 5 and 5. Fabian tactical timeouts have done a bit of magic for this team. We saw it yesterday. They lost 4 rounds in a row on Theme Park. They had the tactical timeout. They won 2 rounds. Then they went onto the other side and continued to win and win until they won 7 and 5. I think many also remember that historic clip that will no doubt be a part of Siege history with the bit of a rant at the team saying, "What the hell are we playing at, boys? We're better than this." And well, we all know how that ended, with G2 eventually lifting the hammer at the very end of the competition after what could have been a knockout game for them. So here, let's see if those same words will have rung true in the ears of G2, if they can pull things back, or if virtuspro will cause what many will describe as an upset against the current world champions.
Honestly, this is such an exciting round because it could be a real difference maker. Obviously, one of these teams will get an opportunity at map point, whoever wins this round, but it will be one bite at the cherry only. They'll have to get it done first time. Now, G2 were very good at attacking onto this site last time. I complimented the speed with which they worked. We saw the Selma charges detonating very quickly on the triple wall. Interestingly, there is no hard breach this time around, so it is not going to be a master-sided push. They're going to be looking at going in through Study and Aviator, I would imagine, and trying to push themselves in from 90 corridor, but there is the man beneath. They need to keep an eye out for Pasha.
I do want to bring up a really hot topic in the talent team, Tim. Doki's running the ARX. Now, we had a conversation about this versus the G36 yesterday. Now, wait, because this has got a twist at the end that you're going to love. You're going to love the twist, trust me. I think Doki should play the G36.
Do you think?
He's 2 and 10, Tim.
He needs something. Dan is going to pick up a kill onto Alamo to start things off, and that is not good for G2. Puts them seriously on the back foot there.
Look at how many nades they've got, by the way. 6 on side that they need to be sending skyward. They need this downstairs control. They want to go...
We want this fight. We're ready for it. And the thing is, yeah, Pasha, he's going to sit on red stairs all day because as a defender, he doesn't need to make a single thing happen. He can just let the clock work for the team. It's G2 that need to push forward, need to take the onus, and need to get things moving here. Nitro goes out. Pasha's being challenged from both sides. That is not the angle that G2 needed to work with. Pasha manages to get a second. I said they needed to take the onus, but they needed to get the kills as well. And they will be the ones with the opportunity to take a full 3 points on Villa. And oh boy, how will that upset the table if G2 are unable to pick up the win? After yesterday beating BDS, it just throws everything into the air.
Doesn't it just? How spicy this could yet prove to be. And it blows the group wide open, which is what I love.
It really does.
This is what I've been excited. Like today, for example, we've got Heroic versus BDS. Both lost. 1 won yesterday. 1 obviously fell down to G2. It's going to start forming real triangles of teams beating teams but losing to others.
If virtuspro win
it's
this,
a classic real showdown in a group stage. I love it.
virtuspro win here. BDS beat Heroic. You're in a situation where you've got 4 teams on 3 points. And that's halfway through the group stage, Des. There's only 2 games left to actually decide who goes where for those teams. Absolute madness. It's going to be brilliant.
Absolute madness, Timmy. That is the only way it can be described. Always up at 12 and 6, down at 11-5. It's good seeing some old names back on the scoreboard and really putting up some big numbers. It's funny how you see such variation between teams, not just between like days, but between Benja's the one putting up the big numbers, Doki's the one being quiet. It's why you need these, I don't want to say backups, but other players that you can turn to when the chips are down that can step up and deliver. Just sadly at the minute, virtuspro, their chips are all turned the right way up and they are delivering hard as a team.
Yeah, I just feel like G2, they've lost a little bit of momentum as well as this game's gone on. Obviously, virtuspro now in a position to win it. I'm not sure they're going to need more than one chance, Des. G2, you know, what better time to get a flawless round for virtuspro than round 11 coming
straight
into
after a timeout.
Number 12. Exactly that. It's just absolutely perfect from them, and I don't know if maybe the wind has just been really knocked out of G2 there.
I did wonder for a second if that was a knock reference, but she's not in the round.
Wasn't.
Whenever I heard you say anything even loosely
future,
related to knock, I'm just like, hang on a minute. Is there a knock?
It for future. It's up there now.
It's saved in the back case, mate. It's ready. For now, you're looking towards maybe on the defensive side those C4s. We had the same from G2 back in the first half when they were running 3 C4s on this site, just looking to go fishing from below. It seems to be much the same, but we've got a couple of players of G2 looking to brute force their way in here. Candela's coming over the top. This is an early execute, but Doki is full white screen and can't really do much about it. Joystick also a similar one though, as more things come flying over, but no plant going down just yet, Tim.
That manages to pick up Virtue as an opening kill, as you say. I don't think the opportunity, the space is there for G2 to put this case down. Shepard finds Alamo, Doki with the trade, 3 versus 3.
Always
on the backstab, manages to take a chip at Doki, can't find his man though, and Doki does more damage inside a site. 2 versus 2 now as the battle continues. Look at this, it's just getting down to one of those tense little angles. Benja's doing everything he can to try and support Doki here, who is inside of site. He needs to find his men. This is getting dangerous for G2, but Benja gets himself inside of the map. He knew that he needed to cut in it, and a big double des. We're going to overtime.
I've waited to hear those words, Tim. We said a few rounds ago this game was starting to feel like it really deserved it, and I love the confidence out of G2 there. You've just been slapped by a flawless round trying to play things a little bit slower. What do you do the next round? You, for all intents and purposes, rush. It's not quite a from spawn direct in towards site, but the heavy push-up pantry, for example, the use of those Candelas really tore apart the backline for virtuspro there and let G2 get some semblance of site control. It got a little bit scrappy as we came into those last 60 seconds or so, but the beauty of that is exactly what I just said. They had like 1 minute and 20 left on the clock to still recover things there. They weren't scrapping things out in the last 30 seconds that both teams have done in several attacking rounds on this map, but left themselves plenty on the clock to make things work, and they get us through to overtime. The only downside for G2, Tim, is they start on the attack.
G2 fans, do not get too carried away. It has been 4-2 halves, both directions, with the defenders picking up the 4s. We do sometimes see those fates reversed in overtime, but it's going to need a big reversal here. One thing that I will guarantee everybody watching is an exciting, enjoyable and explosive finish, because that is how this game has gone on from start to finish, and you just feel like, to be honest, I think it's the best game we've maybe seen so far over the 2 play days. It's been absolutely fantastic, a little bit unexpected, but nothing to separate these two.
I think in terms of, I mean, it's the only game that's gone to overtime, so yeah, it's definitely been the closest game that we've had so far across the 2 days, and it's building up to one of those that you might look back on at the end of the group stage and go, man, if only X team had beat Y team, you know, insert either on either side of that equation, they could have made it to a major, they could have done whatever it requires. That's how tight it is, though, like we keep on saying in these group stages.
Alamo, you're going to have to take another shot if you want to go through there. He will do, just making sure that he wasn't going to be challenged. He's going in on the Jackal, so that should help him just to ascertain whether anybody has been playing down in that basement or not. Once again, you know, trying to use these vertical nades, G2, but they haven't had any joy with them as of yet. They could really do with, you know, if you're going to commit to going underneath, using that utility, you got to squeeze every little bit of value out of it, and it's not something they've managed to do so far.
When you're committing to bringing 6 like they've done in previous rounds, you really want to make that vertical play work, but just haven't been able to get it working for them in the way that it has done in previous games. virtuspro just seeming almost a little bit wiser to the antics of players like Benja. I kept on mentioning the explosive kill stats that he got at SI, 30 to second place is 15. They know what G2's game plan is, and they've played around it super well so far.
Yeah, Doki's going to head underneath as well. He has nades in pocket, 3 remaining between the 2 of them, but once again, always with the T5 of Legion is down in the basement. We've seen the backstab work before. He's on his way. I'm not sure that Alamo's aware. I don't think they've picked up any footprints at any point, and always manages to get himself up into kitchen just as Joystick finds the Jackal, and that is going to really hurt G2's opportunity to be able to pick up on the flank. Benja misses one from underneath. Always, he's still roaming. He's still dangerous, Des.
It's in a spot if they can do enough damage, though, because although they've managed to get themselves back and still leave it as a 5 versus 4, I think even with always off-site, you won't feel too beat up because Benja is the one trying to sniff him out. He's got no idea where he is. If always pulls the trigger at the right time here, this can be massive damage, as Benja, again, has been the big player that's been carrying his team through some really tough rounds, set at 14 and 8. Heck, how about you get Doki at the same time? Sees the Yana, and there's Benja in for the follow. slow. A great bait coming out and a good bit of teamwork coming out of the two entries.
But look at the clock at the top of your screen. We're down to 30 seconds. Always has just wasted 2.5 minutes. Couldn't get any kills along with it.
There's the
and
down.
That might be the problem. But Virtue, big kill onto Pasha, leaving us now effectively a 4v2. But G2 need to go, Des.
But it's G. I'm looking downstairs though as well. There's a C4 in back pocket. They get this in the wrong spot. It's rounded and dusted. They've got Dan on the downstairs. A C4 in pocket. He pulls it out, but Doki can recover it. Did Dan go a bit too soon? Arguably, because now he's got to pull back a 1v2.
So difficult to judge that sort of timing, Dan. He moves back into side.
No.
He gets one. Surely not the second. He hits shots onto Doki. He has to flick to the pistol. It's going to be the Deagle. Can he find his man? It's just a little bit of ring around the roses now. Either side of that reinforcement, neither wants to overcommit here. The red ping's coming out constantly onto Doki.
Oh my God.
He's going to take a lot of damage as he tries to find it. And it's the one tap to finish it as Dan successfully secures a 1v2 post-plant clutch.
And just when it looked like he might have thrown it away with a preemptive C4, he pulls out the 1v2 on the upstairs as well. Oh, it's so sweet to see plays like that come off, and virtuspro will be, I was going to say they'll be ecstatic. They look anything but ecstatic.
I think at this point, they're in too deep. You know, this game is seriously tense. It's gone to overtime.
Dan's like, oh, it's another round.
They know there's a lot of work to be done yet, I think, is the looks on the faces that you see in there.
Oh, G2 will be kicking themselves as well, a 4v2. Yeah, I know our player was down and kind of technically a 4v3 whilst he's still alive and able to get res, but it was a 4v2 and they still managed to give it away. It's going to be such a kicker for the G2 side. And here was that C4 that I honestly thought maybe you hold on a second or two more, you get away with it, and Doki hasn't got time to recover. But I understand the decision by the same stroke. You don't know how much longer is left on that plant. You'd rather just pull the trigger and get the player off it straight away. But for Dan to win this one out against Doki, 14-6, moves up to 15-6 with that kill as well. He's really giving Benja a run for his money. Dan is back.
What a finish to the round. As you say, the judgment on the diffuser is it's basically impossible because you don't know how long it's been going down for. You're looking at the clock at the top of your screen, you know, like you said, do I go now, do I not? You know, is it too soon? You know, but Dan's played that fantastically overall. And that final 1v2, absolutely unbelievable. virtuspro in a position to win this. They do manage to secure the first defense. They're going to have an opportunity at the attack here, but I think they're going to be feeling pretty confident now at taking the 2 points.
The thing is, G2 were in a spot to win that round, and they won the previous attack as well. So I'm looking at it and thinking, you know, G2 have built in confidence on the attacking side as well. If this goes to the 15th round, I don't know which way I honestly think it can go. It'll be on an offsite, for example, for virtuspro as well. That's one other thing to consider. So God knows which way it goes if we get there. That is, of course, assuming that virtuspro don't just win an attack of their own here and now and see this done and dusted in 14.
Pasha just breaching down into basement just to allow some access in through there. They're going to be heading up to the top floor. It is Aviator Games for G2. They just wanted to make sure that they are clearing throughout.
Big thing I like straight away there. Think about the previous attacking rounds we saw from virtuspro back in the first half. They all started on the upstairs. They swept their way across. They got C4'd out by Benja. No real contest coming through until later in the round. Here they've gone straight in towards basement, opened up pantry stairs, and have gotten on the ground floor. Joystick's gone sniffing. He's found the man he's after. Benja is offline. You could not ask for a better start as virtuspro.
That's exactly what they wanted, managing to pick up, and that gives them more time now. It gives them a little bit more flexibility. They know that they've got a lot of the map cleared out, if not all of it, so they can start focusing towards site already at the minute 30 mark, and that's part of the problem that virtuspro have had before. They're still conscious of those Astro stairs. There is Alamo sort of lurking around the red stairs, but that's about as far as G2 extend now. So as soon as virtuspro are confident about that, and I want to see them gain that confidence quickly, that there is nobody else downstairs, no further problems to be created, they can focus on site and they're not having those timing troubles.
I'm out sniffing here for a kill as well. So he knows the man's there, but can't quite find him. At the same time, Doki goes down just behind him. That means his reinforcements are cut off from the back here, and he has to take a few steps back. One thing really quickly, by the way, we've talked a lot about these big kill players, but I've got to say, what a delight it is to see Shepard back in the game. Just everything he does just seems so calculated, cool, composed. Where he moves, where he's droning, everything just looks so smart. In comes Joystick, down goes Virtue. This looks to be over in 14, Tim.
It certainly does. It doesn't look like we're going to go the distance as virtuspro. Seriously, in the driving seat now. 5 versus 2, and it's all up to Alamo and Blur. We've seen clutches a couple of times in this game so far, but this is going to be asking a lot, and it's just asking even more now as Blur finds himself